Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to Phil's Corner Live. We're back again, streaming for a kind of combo stream. This is something which we started last week, and essentially we're combining two of the shows that we have done on this channel before. We're going to be doing a little bit of a look at eBay, trying to find some bargains, find some new additions to the collection. So we'll be doing that for the first half, and in the second half we'll take to our giant football shirt tier list to rank the latest releases on what we call the Hot Wall. Don't forget, of course, that we also are going to be getting regular Phil's Corner episodes. The first one of that since the relaunch is going to be coming out this week. That is a look at the most expensive football shirts in my collection. You can see one of them behind me. The lovely Wales shirt there. I was doing some filming today. And yeah, that's coming up. I'm not sure when. Probably Thursday or Friday. I'll see basically how the editing goes. But yeah, guys, that's coming up. And yeah, more to come on the channel. But make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you're subscribed. And yeah, looking forward to chatting tonight. Of course, as has been the case before on previous Phil's Corner streams, we are competing with a little tournament called the Champions League, but that's okay. We'll hopefully get a few people tuning in on their second screen, and if not, if people are watching, that is good. But yeah, looking forward to getting back in, and I hope you're doing well. I hope again as we tune in, as it begins, and people are beginning to filter in. We'll give a few minutes before we hop over to eBay. But yeah, in terms of other updates, linked to the relaunch of the channel that we've got here, we've also got a bit of a relaunch of my Patreon. And my Patreon is the place where you can support me, support my journey as both a content creator and a designer. And one of the biggest kind of benefits, or the biggest reward of supporting through Patreon is quite simply this shirt. This is what you get if you support me on Patreon. You get this shirt that I designed recently with the wonderful brand Icarus. You can see their logo there. You get one of these shirts at any level of support, including your own choice of number on the back in a lovely retro style. So that is the Patreon reward, prize, whatever you call it, not prize. What you get for supporting me on Patreon. Details are at the link in the description of this stream, of this video. But of course, if you've got any questions, you can ask me. And speaking of that, as we begin, do use the chat. The chat is there for you. It's there for you to ask questions. If you've got any questions, even not about what we're doing on stream, chuck them in. Always happy to do my best to answer them. But let's come to eBay. Let's see what we've got. Last week we came close on a couple of auctions. In the end, we didn't win the Corinthian shirt. We were close on that. So that was kind of, a couple of near misses. Let's see what we can find today. Over the years, eBay's been a great platform for me. I've enjoyed it quite a lot. I've got a lot of kind of both interesting kind of high-end shirts as well as bargains. So let's see what it has for us tonight. And as we begin, I say this every time, but I'll say it again. We like to do things pretty broad here. I like to go for a really broad term, such as football shirt. There are lots of ways to shop on eBay, but I like going for something like this. If you go to auctions, ending soonest. Again, eBay's really good for specific shirts. If you have a shirt or a team which you collect for, of course, you can do things like set up alerts, which is really good. Immediately off the mark, I do like this Bristol City shirt. Bristol City had a good run with Hummel. They really did. Well, the combination, the partnership worked wonders. I think sometimes manufacturers and teams just really click. And as was the case with Bristol City, this is not anything too special, but that's gone for 26 quid. Seems like a good price. Appears to be brand new tag, so a nice deal there. So I forgot to mute myself. Yeah, a nice pickup. And these are the kind of things where, that's nothing crazy in terms of if you were to see this sold online at a retailer. Yeah, it's probably not much more than this, but it would probably be more. And at the very least, you know where you're getting with a Hummel shirt, and I like it. Bespoke, of course, for the team. Nice pickup there from whoever won that. But we don't want to spend. This is a classic problem I have. I spend too much time talking about a shirt and then I miss about 10 auctions. That's okay. We continue. We soldier on. Now this is hilarious. If you had a match-worn shirt from Ronaldo, you wouldn't be selling it on eBay. Well, you shouldn't be selling it on eBay. I also, I'm not even going to bother looking at that. I mean, it could be real. Who knows? But, well, you know what? It's intrigued me enough to look at it. I don't know enough about what the match-worn shirts of this tournament of the World Cup in 2002 were like. I don't know enough to know if this looks good or not. It sort of does have good feedback, but yeah, not gonna spend too much time on that one. And of course, the budget does not stretch that far. Sadly, it does not. Of course, when you're shopping on eBay like this, you do have to sift through a lot of fakes. And honestly, a lot of the time, I have the policy of if I'm not sure, so something like this AK shirt, you wouldn't be selling a shirt like this for 25 quid. And it doesn't have any bids anyway. So, it's possible I skip past some good stuff, but most of the time, for example, this shirt now, I'm not in the market for a City shirt, but I think it's always fun to look at shirts. If nothing else, just to kind of see. And it's good, when you're someone who's collecting a lot of shirts or seen a lot of shirts, it's kind of interesting to kind of gauge like what is the kind of market price on some of this stuff. So something like this City shirt, you can see here, pretty unremarkable. Although I will say that there's something to be said about the Lecoq Sportif era. One of those brands who have done some really interesting things. And I actually think this shirt as a design is kind of interesting. It's got that asymmetry, the imbalance, which was kind of popular around this time. The kind of luminous green strip is quite unusual at the back there. But it's quite a, I think it's quite a good design of it. It's certainly, I think quite interesting from in a number of ways. It's got some damage, you can see there notably, and because of the nature of that logo, that is just going to peel, isn't it? Whereas you can see, this is why fans typically like embroidered stuff, embroidered details. Look at the crest there. Look at how well that has been preserved. By contrast, the manufacturer logo, not so much, and indeed the Thomas Cook sponsor also. So some damage on that, but you can see there, 1050. Honestly, I think because of the damage, I probably would stay away. But I will see what this goes for. And this is again a really interesting kind of shirt. I think, if you're a City fan or someone who's collecting City shirts or just collecting random shirts, you could do much worse than this. And I think this, to me, I'd much rather rock up at the Etihad in a shirt like this than a newer home shirt. At least personally, I think there's something to be said about that. Although I do think City have kind of found their groove with Puma. They've got a good set of shirts this year. I'm assuming that's either fake or retro. I'm not going to look into that too much. But yeah, as I say, I think, it's the kind of thing where at this sort of price, sure there's a bit of damage, but you could either get that fixed, or even with that, it's nothing crazy. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's of course we'll see. One of those bands who I would really like to see kind of re-emerge again as a leading player. They never really had a huge market share, but they sorry guys, I'm at the very end of a cold, so I'm still coughing a bit, but yeah, they very much, I would say, a bit like Puma when Puma are good in a particular year, pushing boundaries a bit more, not afraid to try and break out of the conventional format of a football shirt, and you know, I think often about what the Cotswold Thief were doing at the kind of mid to late 10s. If you look at what they were doing with the likes of Saint Etienne and Fiorentina, really like just smart shirts, but you know, I think they were one of the best in that kind of, there's a sort of 1 or 2 year period where they were really excelling. Sadly never really kicked on, and that's the story with a lot of brands who are in the very competitive tier of manufacturers below Nike and Adidas and Puma. You know, when you've got people like Hummel and Umbro and the Cotswold Thief, and even someone like New Balance, who were great, you know, for a couple of years, and then had to sort of claw their way back. Anyway, that has ended at 11.50. Pretty solid from Starling Rel 01. The seller there, just a nice straight auction. Good pickup for whoever won that. 1 second. There we go. Right. Let us return. So, just a quick technical check there. Now this Bayern shirt, we've only got a minute and 10 to go, but I would very much like to get in on this one if we can confirm its authenticity. Now, we probably don't have time. For the sake, again, I actually really like this shirt. Well, certainly it's a memorable shirt. I'm going to stick in a kind of lowish, nothing too crazy there, 12.50, and we'll see how that takes us. Now, again, this happens a lot on eBay. You're shopping, you're browsing, and you see something and you've got a minute to go. Sometimes you have to kind of take these calculated gambles. Now, looking at that label, honestly, nothing jumps out as a fake. Indeed, we've just been outbid. I actually think now, again, we've not really got a lot of time on this one, so I'm just jumping in, and I'm kind of thinking, well, you know, if I saw this for 20 quid, I think I'd snap up. It's in a good size, medium, which is spot on. The condition's pretty solid, a few pulls, but nothing crazy. The seller's got good feedback. Just had a bit of 21 quid. We might possibly have. We've missed it. We've missed out on it. It went for 22. You can see we're just about to try and sneak in, and that is the pain, isn't it, of eBay? But I'm okay. You know, happy to walk away. I think though, that's a steal. What we'll do now, and this is something I like to do sometimes, is, and ideally you do it before starting a bidding war, but you want to kind of see what is the shirt actually going for. Now I would guess it would be going for at least double that price. Nothing crazy, you know, this isn't sort of particularly rare, but it's one of those shirts which, well, I was reminded of this shirt recently, because if I quickly bring up, now I forget exactly who it was that shared it, but Georgia Stanway recently signed a new deal with Bayern Munich. And I forget who it was that shared the pictures. You can see, you know, in the video there, she's wearing this Bayern shirt. And I was reminded of that just last week. And it's funny because these are the kind of things where, you know, it's surprising to me that this hasn't gone for a bit more. And it could just be that, you know, again, there might be quite a few around. But, yeah, it's the kind of shirt where it's got that shiny gold, which is quite I think quite nostalgic, and certainly a few shirts teams were doing this, brands were doing this. But yeah, let's again, as a kind of exercise for us, let's kind of try and go on places like Classic Football Shirts, the big names. Just to try and see, is this shirt available? Of course, if you were doing this properly, and I've done this in the past, but I would definitely recommend searching through all your favourite resellers, but particularly, also paying attention to social media. There's nothing wrong with kind of doing a quick Google search to try and find particular kits on thread, different threads, the good sales threads that are done every week. So there's a lot that you can do to kind of try and basically, what you're trying to do is gauge market value. Of course, you can look at eBay itself. If you can't find the exact shirt, what's always worth doing is looking at shirts from similar years. And of course, for example, with Bayern here, now let's just go back a page. Okay, great. So this is really useful information. In fact, this helps explain why the shirt only went in the end for 22 quid. So that to me seemed like a good deal, and I think it is a good deal, but it's not nearly as much of a bargain as I kind of thought it would have been. Because you can see quite simply on Vintage Football Shirts, and I like these guys, their prices, similar to Classic, sometimes a little bit less, but they've got a good range of stock, so it's useful for this sort of thing. Here you're seeing 45 quid in a small, and indeed 40 for XL. So certainly something like 40 quid, 35 to 40 quid is the kind of market rate. You'd maybe say 30 from other sellers, but if we say 40 for kind of a nice round number, out of interest, let's see if Classic have a similar range, if they have the shirt. And indeed, as we go through, let's wait for it. Drum roll. So they've got the shirt with printing, 80 quid. That's kind of very, very Classic Football Shirts, really. So yeah, I think 40 quid seems like reasonable. So this is great. This is peak eBay, guys. You get a shirt of this. Yeah, it's used, but it's in decent condition. You've got it for kind of half the price you'd get it elsewhere. Job done. Really good. One we would have liked to have stuck in there for, but I'm happy and I'm glad. And this is the kind of thing where, especially last minute, you don't just want to be throwing in crazy numbers. Ultimately, that price, again, is just a good one. I forgot to mention my favourite detail about this kit, actually, is the tapered three stripes. You see that on the side. This is something which Adidas did. I want to say it was for 2 years? Maybe it was just 1 year. They did this, and it was always, sorry, just had to check there. Always, I really liked it. I thought it was just a fun detail and a fun differentiator on an aspect of the shirt which rarely changes for Adidas even now. So there we go, good stuff. And again, I'm happy to have not driven the price up too much there, but I do think that's a really nice pickup for everyone there. Now we need to refresh and pick up where we left off. And I'm just checking here. Welcome if you have joined in the last few minutes. Just want to say thank you for tuning in. Of course, it's Champions League night, so a bit of a clash, but it's good to have you guys along. Don't be shy if you are new. Maybe you've not been here before. Stick a message in the chat. Say hi. It'd be good to speak with you. And make sure you subscribe, guys. As promised, the next Phil's Corner episode, the first of the relaunch, is coming out very soon. Hey Ian, good to have you along for the stream, mate. Live, I should say, for the stream. Hope you're well. Yeah, guys, my next video should be a fun one. It's going to be the top 10 most expensive shirts in my collection. I'll give you a spoiler now. I don't have the craziest collection by any means, but there's some cool shirts, and certainly it was fun actually looking through, and there's quite a variety. We've got some new stuff, some old stuff, some stuff which I got for very cheap on this very site on eBay. Other stuff was kind of a bit more expensive, but generally speaking, there's a bit of same to everyone. And yeah, it's always fun to get out some of the higher value shirts and just enjoy them for what they are. AC Milan. This shirt grabbed my attention. You can see some damage to the sponsor there, and that is, of course, typical with age. Indeed, more damage there. So it's clearly had a bit of wear and tear. Nothing crazy, and obviously, again, we spoke before about the benefits of embroidered crest. You can see it there. It's certainly held up well, and even though there's a little bit of kind of warping on the Adidas logo, nothing crazy. So overall, not bad. At this price, it's not quite tempting me enough, I think, given some of the condition aspects. But, you know, it's the kind of thing where at that sort of price, it really isn't bad at all. You know, we're looking at, even with some of the cracking on sponsor, etc., you can't complain for 12 quid. This is the kind of thing where, you know, maybe you're looking to kind of backdate your collection. This is a great way to do it. I've just noticed this is from Bernardo, so the major charity. Fair play to Bernardo's for sticking this one on at an auction, and you know, just kind of letting it fall in terms of price where it will. Good stuff. I might just increase the number of listings per page. Let's do that. There we go. Now it's all good. Good stuff. A reminder, guys, that around 9 o'clock, we will jump over to the Hot Wall. So that'll be fun. There's been some good shows recently. Yeah. In fact, as a little preview, whilst we're continuing. What is some of the stuff we're going to rank today? Okay, got a few bits there. Bit of Hummel. Very good, very good. Now, what is this? This is. I'm assuming some sort of concept. I mean, the thing is, despite being obviously just a bootleg shirt, I can't deny it. I kind of like it. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it does make me laugh that someone has, has said it's possibly a goalkeeper shirt. It's obviously not. Well, I say this. Let's just for the sake of clarity, let's just confirm it's not legit. Because sometimes you do see stuff and it has actually been used. We can see quite clearly it isn't. Milan, in fact, weren't even with Adidas, of course. So, yeah, it's a hilarious bootleg. I mean, stuff like this actually has a bit of a appeal for me. Not at this price. I think, we're at like a £5, maybe a tenner. But, it's obviously got no value. So it's the kind of thing where you'd have to wear it or own it for what it is, which is ridiculous. Like, it's just an absolutely hilarious just leisure wear piece. I actually do think that's pretty funny, but sadly I don't think we could do it, guys. I would be tempted, and of course, when you see some of these kind of, again, the bootleg market, bootleg shirts, often they tend to lean more on the kind of player imagery and that sort of thing, and they go for a lot of money. Like, you see them even just. There's a market for them online, of course, and there's some really good retailers out there who sell bootleg shirts and who design their own bootleg shirts, and they go for good money. But of course, in terms of resale value or collecting, they're in a kind of funny category, and they're certainly not ones that you would expect to sell for any sort of profit. But having said all that, if you're getting stuff, just for your own, just to wear your own collection, again, that's almost tempting me, but I don't think I can do it at that price. But I do just want to enjoy the absolute. Oh man, it's great. There's so many unusual details. The fact, sorry, oh dear, it's killing me. I love it. We'll leave that open to see what that goes for, if anyone bids for that. But that is a lot of fun. You can see the same seller appears to have a couple of fakes. So yeah, that is what it is. But anyway, a couple of I would say quite nice naughty shirts, and I kind of like these kind of gold beige shades. We've got the famous, I would say the famous Portsmouth TY shirt here, and this was such a memorable era. I mean, maybe just because I was watching a lot of football at this time. This is when I was really getting in to football, and the TY sponsor was absolutely brilliant. Of course, the Pompey team were just quite a good value as well, quite good fun. Certainly one I would be tempted to go in for, but at this price, I'm happy to pass. You know, that seems fair. And again, were we to try and find this, I would expect this to be, you know, again, like we talked about with the Bayern shirt, at least 40-50 quid, perhaps more, given the kind of the novelty factor of the sponsor. Obviously, given the style of it as a kind of patch style, that has not aged badly at all. Yeah, this is good. Like, honestly, I really think these shirts are very collectible. The nostalgia factor is very strong for me with this one. And the colour, I do like this soft gold. It's kind of one of those designs which stood out at the time, and I think has aged very well. So I love it. Really good. Again, I do this a lot. I'm just going to see what this goes for. I'm curious. I wouldn't be surprised if this does go a little bit higher. And then we've got, this one doesn't have any bids, and I don't think it's one we would go in for at 60 quid. But I did want to have a look at it again just to enjoy this, I would say, quite underrated Adidas template. And I don't think anyone else, I might be wrong, but I don't remember another team having this colourway. Again, please do correct me if I'm wrong on that, but condition looks good on this one. Were we to bid on this, you know, I think if it was kind of, well, a lot cheaper, but kind of half price, I would be tempted given the good condition. Of course, and I appreciate the fact that we've got an inside label there. So were we to bid on this, you'd want to Google that middle number. But that's good to see from the seller. They obviously know what they're doing. The Vodafone sponsor does look slightly wonky. That could simply be well, there's a couple of potentials. Maybe it's just a fake and badly done. Could just be misprinted. But that is to the point actually where I would say it does look like a misprint. It could just be the angle. This is a funny thing actually, and there's something which I don't often talk about, but you know, sometimes things like sponsors can be badly printed, and in this case, based on that visual there on that photo, that to me would classify as a misprint, and that doesn't necessarily mean too much, but generally speaking, it does lower the value. It just seems to be drawn to the gold shirts, and I thought, I do, Ian, I do. I'm not sure why, but I keep coming back to them, don't I? I think it's the kind of colour scheme which I don't know. I can't explain why exactly, but I am enjoying it at the moment. Even like, I mean, just the other page, we had the Chelsea third shirt from, was it last year, in the kind of sandy colour. And I talked a lot about off-white shirts. I'm enjoying that as a trend. Yeah, no, honestly, there's something about it which I'm digging. You can see a lot of action on this Brighton shirt, and this surprises me. Okay, it does have the European printing, which is quite fun, and certainly if you're a Brighton collector or fan, you'd want to get the cut printing to help commemorate their appearance in Europe. But I'm surprised. I mean, that honestly, I'm not totally sure about that swoosh, but I mean, it's quite easy to check. It could be real, to be fair, but yeah, it's not hard to check authenticity on new shirts. Again, just ask for the inside label. But interesting, and I'm surprised. I would have thought the Brighton store. Well, let's have a look. We're here anyway. Can't spell Brighton and Hove Albion. Let's just see how much it costs to buy one of their shirts. Because I would have thought it would be around that. But obviously with I guess with all the printing, sure. But I'm just curious. Home kit. I mean, this is... interesting. So it looks like they've sold out. Now that would... that would help explain why there's some action on eBay. We'll just try again. And okay, fine. There appears to be the youth kit, but not the adult size. So it's sold out, and it's funny because it's not a particularly... Well, the shirt itself is nothing too remarkable, but Brighton are doing incredibly well, and they're in Europe and stuff. So really, just as a kind of quick exercise there to kind of see actually what you would expect to be. I would expect to be quite a readily available shirt. Well, even the base shirt isn't currently easily attainable, at least from the club store. Of course, it could be sold elsewhere. But that's just very interesting, and that again explains why there's so much action on the shirt. Yeah, so really interesting. I think it's the kind of thing where you would expect them to restock them. Of course, it's so early in the season that almost certainly would happen. But that's definitely the kind of thing where I'm surprised, and that's just interesting to see. Often it's not unusual to see a new shirt sell out early on in the season if a team is doing well, if a team has a memorable moment in the shirt. Of course, that can often happen late in the season as well. But yeah, those kind of things where in another season, of course, Brighton might be selling their shirts right through to the year before they even sell out. But given the success of the team and things like that, just kind of interesting to see. Just to note that on the club store, their home shirt has sold out. So there we go. Yeah, very interesting. 2 minutes to go on these two. We'll keep an eye on that as we continue through. But I hope everyone's doing well. And I do want to say again, just thank you for tuning in. We're a small little crew here tonight, but that's cool. I appreciate everyone who maybe has just popped in. Maybe you're watching this on catch up. I do want to say thank you. Yeah, it's been much appreciated over the years, over the months, just to hang out with you guys and stream. It's a lot of fun. Now we have found an absolute gem. I assume this is an original. Based on what I see, it looks pretty good. I mean, look, absolute. Well, okay, this is just an incredible shirt for many reasons. Bukta, for a start, one of those brands who are absolutely iconic. Their work very, very of its time in the positive sense. When you've got the jacquard and some of those kind of nostalgic details, even the application of the sponsor there, and I love the way that logo again, with the globe and the fact that the kind of chevron there has been coloured to match the West Ham colours. It's brilliant. I'm not a big one button collar fan, but the Grandad collar there does look smart, and I have to say this is just a brilliant shirt. Now, it's not one I actually recall much or remember much of. So, West Ham are a big team, so I'm surprised it doesn't kind of jump up in my kind of memory. So I'm curious to try and find this online and maybe do a bit of digging. You can see there. Interesting to note that it appears to be on here. There are some notable differences with the Bukta logo and the crest. So it could be that there are different. Well, obviously one possibility is this is just a fake. You'd hope it wasn't that, but that is possible. And the differences are enough that I want to try and find some more pictures, because it could be that this is just a reproduction or fake. So there's things to kind of figure out here. So maybe this isn't quite as good as I first thought. Let's do some digging. This is part of the eBay process. There's obviously some different possibilities here. Daredevil, good to see you, mate. Says, is there any way I can get a National League club kits at a decent price, shipped over to the US? Honestly, Daredevil, the best way is going to be getting someone in the UK to receive the shirt and then send it on. You will save money almost certainly doing it that way, because to send a shirt to the US from here, privately, isn't too expensive, usually under a tenner. And yeah, so have a look. And sometimes shipping's pretty good from some places. Some clubs or brands or sites are just more used to sending over there, so have a look. But I would definitely say fellow collectors, and don't be afraid to reach out on social media to people. There's a lot that you can do, and it's good to have links in other countries. I mean, I have different collectors and friends in different places. That honestly would be my advice. Of course, if you're not able to find anyone, one option. I will plug my Patreon, because one of the big things we do at my Patreon is we do act as proxies, people in the group for people. So there's a lot of stuff which goes on regularly, particularly mostly US to Europe. We've got a guy in Canada and a couple of guys elsewhere going over in Australia. So that's a network, and of course there's other stuff you get through Patreon. I will plug that, but hopefully that's helpful. Ian says, I'm sure Brighton will restock the fresh shirts. The European ones are really desirable. Exactly. And it's really cool to see that. Georgie, good to see you. Georgie says, Ian and Phil, how do you feel about the new Boca and River releases where we just dropped the black, white with red sash shirt just in time of the Super Classico? Yeah, it was really cool because, despite the shirt being relatively simple in terms of its look, it did look good. And I think what I liked is that River release contrasted with the other recently released away or third shirt. I forget which one it was designated as, which I quite liked, which was the kind of retro one, but it was kind of the opposite in terms of going from the relatively stylish sash look in comparison to the more kind of bold graphic. And I like that you have those two options. I gather that the River fans didn't really like the retro inspired one as much as the sash one, which makes sense. Right, I wanted to see, is this has me thinking this is a reproduction. And again, I'm not knowledgeable enough about West Ham shirts or Buckler shirts to know this for sure, so I'm going to try and just quickly find this again. You can see a couple of places do offer retro shirts, and I actually think what's happened here, guys, is we have stumbled across a retro kit. And you can see here, I mean, immediately that matches up. So yeah, the Buckter logo, well there's a couple of things to be said here. Firstly, it's actually quite good that Buckter have differentiated their logo. You can see quite clearly now, based on Old Football Shirts, which is a place I like to go to. It's a community driven database of kits and kit history. You can see there was already some differences, and it's been confirmed now looking at classic football shirts. You can see those further differences, including in the crest, the West Ham crest, and the manufacturer logo. So guys, this is a textbook lesson in just taking 5 minutes. This looks on the face of it like a great deal on an original shirt, and based on our research we can see quite clearly this is a remake, a reproduction. Still a nice piece for a collection, but actually you can usually find even the most attractive, desirable reproduction shirts for 30 quid or less. You certainly shouldn't really, unless it's rare examples, you might have a shirt that goes for a bit more that's a reproduction, but the vast majority don't we shouldn't be that price. And of course, an original shirt you're looking at much more. Now, Classic has it at 125 here. You can knock off quite a healthy chunk for Classic, but certainly kind of 70-80 quid would not be too far off, I would suggest, elsewhere. So there we go. I got excited, but good to pause. And this is again part of the joy of eBay. Yeah, I would certainly say, you see sometimes like often descriptions are just quite nice and upfront about it. In this case, you can give them the benefit of the doubt, the seller here. They might not know the difference, but I would certainly say, this should be, I would argue, designated as a remake or a reproduction, albeit a very nice one. And the thing is, like, again, for people who aren't looking at shirts a lot, this is the kind of stuff which easily can rack up a lot of money, or the price can run up a lot, partly because of people not knowing that it's not an original. I don't think we should ever frown on reproductions as a concept, but I do think it's important to distinguish the difference and to understand the value difference. The value of a reproduction shirt is much lower. It doesn't mean there isn't value there. And of course, if you're going to be, going down to the pub, a lot of people say, well, actually, I'd rather, if I'm going to spill my beer on a shirt, why not make it the 20-30 quid one? So anyway, interesting. And I've certainly learned something there about Buckter and the logo. And, every day's a score day. Sorry guys, you can hear I'm still not quite over this cold. It's annoying how much it is dragged, but we continue. And worth noting, Portsmouth, oh yeah, good couple of yawns in there, at the Portsmouth shirt, 29 quid. I really think that's a good deal. I like it a lot. And the AC Milan shirt, no bids on the bootleg AC Milan shirt. And indeed none on the Benfica. So whilst we've not won any auctions tonight, it's been a very interesting evening, I would say. Surprised to see this particular Chelsea training shirt getting so much action, but it shows. there's another gold shirt. Sorry guys, try not to die over here. The Chelsea shirt here, it shows that there is a market for training wear. There's nothing remarkable about this one at all, but sometimes this sort of stuff, it's like the fact it's just getting bids and action on a show which probably would have retailed and not much more. Well, 2012, so not too far back, but certainly training wear is usually marketed much cheaper than a shirt. So interesting just to see the bids on that one. Sometimes stuff just old training wear actually does command a lot of value, and the factors behind that can be as simple as it's just a memorable season or particular colourway, particular design which has resonated. Ian had a great show here. He says might be worth even looking to see if West Ham store has those. So again, we will consult the West Ham store, because you're absolutely right, Ian. Often retro wear does more and more clubs now do go in for retro shirts, and it's hard to know sometimes where the stuff is going to be sold. So maybe Legends. No, that's another thing they're doing. Maybe if that's for the sake of time, West Ham United retro. Let's see if the store has any. Okay, the Fashion Elite retro collection. If you go through, they've got quite a range of stuff, and it looks promising. There's certainly covering a lot of ground. Perhaps not the exact shirt, but you can see certainly that. Again, price-wise, we're looking at. I mean, you can see it's sold out. So it's funny, like some stuff, particularly I think stuff with the manufacturer logo, has a little bit more appeal. You can see there, like these sort of shirts, they look good because they look very much like the real deal in a lot of ways. 45 quid from the store. So yeah, interesting. They've even got some jumpers. So a wide offering. West Ham certainly doing some good stuff in terms of their retro offerings. Yeah, very interesting. Now I'm gonna have to do this again, Ian, and other viewers. I'm just gonna look at another gold shirt. I think this is the theme of tonight. This is kind of an ugly shirt. I mean, the brand, TFG, it might as well be an own brand. I don't know who they are. The combo of the fairly kind of, the gold shade doesn't bother me too much. But in combination with the baby blue, whew, that is not a look at. You know, we talked about Bristol City shirts at the beginning of the eBay hunting section. Man, this is a drop off, and not all gold shirts are created equally. That's the takeaway here, guys. I like gold shirts. I've looked at a lot of gold shirts tonight. We've seen some gold shirts, but this is just pretty bad. But I said all that, and I've dunked on the shirt. But to be fair, it's not one I've seen before. It's certainly, again, if you're a gold shirt collector, tonight has been a good episode, a good stream for you. But yeah, man, just looking at that, I don't think even at a price much lower than 17 quid, I don't think I could bring myself to bid for this one. But there we go. That is the the latest in a long line of gold shirts. There. As we scroll through, you can see some interesting shirts. Nothing which is really making me. I'm put off by this seller, particularly that 94.4% rating, very, very low. And indeed, like that, basically on eBay, just immediately has me kind of thinking it's not worth that. So it's coming from Bulgaria, so it's a fair, so something like this, right? I would very much like this Bumby shirt, and it's quite possible it is real. So I don't want to immediately discount it. But again, the seller's ratings, I mean, we'll have a look just whilst we're here. So some bad feedback on the condition. Yeah, you can see the feedback. Some pretty bad feedback. Anyway, we'll move on. But they certainly have a wide offering, and to be fair, there was nothing that immediately looked like a fake to me on that Bumby shirt. So I shouldn't be too down on it. Ian says, I only said that because I visited both Spurs and Wolves last season and their shops were full of retro stuff. Yeah, I think it's, like I was saying before, a lot of clubs are doing good work in that area. And it's funny because I do think the kind of retro market is one of the ways that brands and clubs can begin to, in a very small way, but in a way, combat the rising fake market by having affordable offerings. What's kind of funny is very quickly brands have actually ended up positioning a lot of their retro stuff not much cheaper than their replica and player spec stuff, and in many ways now, like take those West Ham shirts, 45 quid, that's still way above a fake shirt. Now there's this tension, isn't there, with the fake shirt industry, and I'll be talking about this a bit in the start of my next video. We had a good question, which I'll address in the Q&A section, which was talking about fakes. But yeah, in short, I think it's good to see clubs embracing that area, that kind of section of the market. It's funny also though at the same time that you're seeing retro shirts being sold for quite a lot of money, more money than you'd expect. 45 quid like West Ham, that's not too bad. I'd still say that was more than it should be going for. But then, I mean, that's the kind of thing. It's similar to the kind of price of replicas, isn't it? The price of football shirts is a much contentious, much debated area. You could argue that normal replicas, of course, could be much cheaper. That's a story for another day. I quite like this Argentina shirt. I think at 18 quid, it's not quite tempting me enough. But I'm just going to look again. We're looking at the condition. It doesn't look bad, to be fair. I think it's just out of the range where I'd be tempted to stick in the bid. 18 and then quite expensive to be $5, so that's 22 quid. It's a good price. I would expect, this, if this were to be sold online, I'm sure it would be more money than this, and you'd expect. I think it wouldn't be unrealistic to expect it being around 50 quid or more, perhaps a bit less, but at this sort of condition in a good size, yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. And to be fair, when it comes to again, kind of price, that seems reasonable. It's just not tempting me enough. And I'm the kind of person where even though this is a good deal on the shirt, broadly speaking, it's not enough for me to want to stick in a bid. Let's check out the seller. Sometimes if I see an item, I like to kind of also look at the other items the seller is offering. Nothing of note there, so we will move on. I also saw this Villa shirt. This caught my eye. Diadora, another brand who kind of, well, even more so perhaps than the Cotswold Thief, have faded away in terms of their presence or their spot at the higher end of the manufacturer table. But you can see here, got some action on this away shirt from the Naughties for Villa, a bid at 35 quid. Certainly the kind of design which, again, the combination of Diadora and the MG sponsor, and even the old crest, to be fair, now that they keep changing it. Lots to like about this one. It's in a good size. Yeah, and it's the kind of thing where not one I'd go in for, but I can definitely see the appeal. This is also, you wouldn't expect, we talked about retro shirts before, unlikely that Diadora and Villa would do a retro version of this, although they might. And to be fair, we're kind of entering this funny stage now where shirts of this era, the mid-noughties, are considered retro. And certainly, I know Liverpool recently did a retro kit of the Champions League winning season, the 2005 season. So there is a bit of that, and there can be a bit of that, especially again if it's attached to a trophy or similar success. As we begin to wrap up our little eBay stroll, our eBay check-in, we'll just catch up where we left off. There we go, and see what we can find in the last few minutes. Again, thank you guys for stopping by. Hope you're enjoying this very leisurely look through what we have here, and we will be jumping to the hot wall very soon, which I'm excited to do. More West Ham in the form of a keeper kit there. And final chance for eBay. Will we get anything? We might do one more page, perhaps. Yeah, so nothing here. See another Portal shirt. The home still looks good with the TOS sponsor. Still looks good. Let's do one more page. Oh, sorry. I hope I'm not too loud. Do let me know what my sound level's like. I've been trying to tweak it. I think it's at a good level now, but if it's too loud, if it's too quiet, if the music's too loud or quiet, please do jump in, guys. Yeah, Ian, that's interesting, isn't it? Diadora, currently massive in Turkish Airlines. It's funny how some brands have kind of done that thing where they've sort of consolidated a bit. You know, they've kind of well, I like the likes of someone like Castore, who are seemingly snapping up as much as they can get their hands on. It's interesting to see other brands, again, kind of a less is more approach, which I quite like. You can see that it's funny, these kind of fakes. I mean, I will just touch on them briefly. Japan, especially, more than any other brand, country, I should say, get some quite incredible fake designs. And the funny thing is, if you're going to get a fake shirt, you might as well get one like this. It wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea, but there's a lot, you know, even the trefoil. So you know, there's no value, and you shouldn't be buying fake shirts. But I will say that if you go into, I can certainly see why people would go in for it. This one's a bit more tacky. Again, just a ridiculous fake, and you can see the price is a little bit higher there. But yeah, for different reasons, people do pay up for stuff like that. There's a lot of issues with that. I would definitely counsel and encourage anyone not to buy fakes for various reasons. But you know, if you're going to do it, there are some really, the cost perspective is one thing as well as to why people go for that sort of stuff. But just from a design perspective, it can be pretty fun. Again, don't do it though. It's not worth it. Yeah, just looking through. Final chance simply because we have to go to the Hot Wheel. So we will say goodbye to eBay. Will it offer up anything else in this final stretch? We finish on the talking of I believe this is a Turkish team, Alanyaspor, and a shirt from Allsport, a brand we don't see a lot of. Not a particularly attractive design in the green and orange. I don't think there's many teams that can pull this off, but the shirt is quite an interesting one, and it's, you know, a bit unusual. This is the kind of thing where these sorts of shirts are great for like gifts and stuff. You know, you've got like this kind of price point, 12 quid all in with postage, 30 quid all in, not bad at all. And I like it for that kind of angle. Not one I'll be bidding on tonight, but yeah, very interesting. And as I say, if it stays at this sort of price or a little bit more, get yourself a good little pickup. Cool. I think we can call it there, guys. Yeah, before we get more distracted. Good stuff. Give me 1 minute, 2 minutes, I'll grab a drink, and then we'll head to the Hot Wheel, and we'll rank some football shirts before we close. Welcome back to Phil's Corner, and we are in the second half. We are going to head over to the Hot Wall, and I'll just finish the prep. The document has loaded. Thankfully, since I've moved to having this on a solid state, it is actually loading in a reasonable time and not 10 minutes. So here we go, guys. This is our giant football shirt tier list. There are some gaps. I will say from the outset, there's a big job, and I've had other jobs on, so I'm not had a chance to get to it. There are many shirts which still need to be filled in, but broadly speaking, this is all the shirts from this year. Again, apologies for different reasons. We've not had a kind of full list here, but we are going to go through as quickly as we can through the latest releases. And if we go to Football Shirt Culture, you can see here, this is the site we use to go through. We're not including goalkeeper kits or shirts that aren't worn in the game. Let's go to it. We will also be tracking manufacturers. So as we go through, if there is a shirt from a particular manufacturer, we'll move that manufacturer in this kind of brand zone, and basically trying to gauge my overall sentiment around a particular brand. Let's start with lawns. This has been the theme of today, gold. So it's appropriate we start here. A very clean shirt, a very simple shirt. I like it a lot in terms of I think this kind of colour feels good for a European shirt, doesn't it? Many teams over the years have had gold shirts for Europe. It was a thing in the noughties. I think of teams like Lyon, and there were certainly others, possibly even Lens themselves. Quite possibly, given that they have chose this colour. I like it. Nothing too special. It's probably in this list around the high end of the counter tier, but I do like the colour. Again, it's been the theme of today, hasn't it? So I'm quite glad we kick off with this one. But not bad at all from our friends at Puma. And if we just try and find a home for this in our list, it does get nice and busy. I like it kind of here. That feels appropriate. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. There we go. Yep, not bad at all. And take a look. That is almost, this happened a bit last week as well. Almost perfectly where I'm kind of feeling for Puma as a whole this year. So very good stuff. We continue with staying in France. Troyes, I'm not sure how you say the name, Le Coq Sportif. Funny to see another black and gold shirt, a combo which we've talked about so much in the past few years, to the point where it basically doesn't really move the needle for me. It's nothing too exciting as a colour scheme. Does the design hold out? Does it have enough going for it as a design? There's the map detail, sure, it's got the kind of central thing, but it looks a little bit, to me this looks a bit underwhelming in terms of quality. Apologies. There's interesting jock tag detail, but it's definitely, I think, low counter. That's partly for the tired colour scheme, but I think even that's only part of the disappointment here. It feels to me, okay, I'm just going to resize that. There we go. It feels to me like something in this kind of region. Underwhelming. Must do better from Le Coq Sportif. Now we come to Barcelona of Ecuador. Now it's a shirt from Marathon, a brand who, if you were eagle-eyed, you would have noticed. In fact, I forgot to move the Coq Sportif. Now again, they've been doing quite well this year, but I will put them down. Now that might be a bit harsh. Maybe if we just move, yeah, let's just stick them there. Eagle-eyed viewers may have seen Marathon very high up, but I'm just going to say now, this is perhaps the first big disappointment. I will say that this design, Danny FC, is there a link to the high definition of the wall? Now there isn't, Danny, but I do need to look into that. In fact, if that's something people would like, please let me know and I can look into that. I don't know what the best way of doing that would be. I guess perhaps simply to post, if I posted the high-res version on my Twitter, maybe as a thread, that's probably the best way of doing it, because you would then, like the 100% on this image is that, and you can see all the juicy details of the kits, and it does look nice actually when you kind of look in. And the one thing you don't get, of course, is a list of what team it is, but hopefully, even if you kind of reverse image search, you can fully find them. But yeah, that is kind of yeah, something I could look into, Danny. And as I say, to be fair, last year actually I was sharing the progress, if you like, on Twitter, so I can slowly look into that. Yeah, the aesthetics of this design are not appealing to me. The way that you've got kind of several small landmarks, and even the way the sponsor has to kind of go that way, it's honestly quite bad. You got this and the collar, it's too much. The flex, the two-tone grey isn't appealing. It's genuinely, I think, quite bad. Now, is it bad enough for the Ice Cube tier? I think it actually is. I mean, the crazy thing is, right? Again, Marathon, the few shirts I've seen so far have been very good, but this is a huge, just swing and a miss for me. I don't like this one at all. To talk about the shirts that we did like, we've got the Universitario shirts. They were both amazing, and there was at least, I want to say there was another one in the in the Flames tier. I might be wrong. Nice and Danny. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that suggestion, mate. As I say, in general, Twitter, I'm going to keep calling Twitter. I know it's X, but Twitter is certainly the best place. Alongside here, if you're subscribed and there's the community tab, that's the best place to keep up to date with stuff. Yeah, this is actually going to be, I think this is just way too much, and I actually think it's quite poorly executed. I'm going to put it here, and of course it's hard to kind of do a proper average, but based on that one shirt, I actually think we're going to have to move them all the way down here. I'm not going to go too crazy, but Marathon dropping far down, or at least a few places down on the manufacturer leaderboard with that, but it's not good, guys. Not good. What about New Balance though, and Brisbane Raw? Now, Brisbane Raw as there's a fly here. I need to kill that. Brisbane Raw as a team, I think they're quite interesting. They've got their kind of orange and black colour scheme, which I quite like. This particular New Balance kit isn't doing too much for me. I do like, broadly speaking, the colourway has something about it. Yes, black is overdone, but at least it's not black and gold, I would say. And the gradient, I think were this pattern all over, or were it to continue rather than have the gradient, I think I like it a little bit more. I do, you know, the style of it, which is the kind of fashion house style, I think it looks kind of interesting, and you've got a little jock toe detail there. So this is pretty good. I think that some of the other shirts they have are better, but there's a lot that I do like about this, and I think this particular shirt, I believe this is the third shirt. This has the makings of a kind of middle candle tier, but overall, I can see people maybe ranking this a bit higher. It's certainly the kind of kit which, you know, you compare that to the Barcelona shirt we just saw, the Barcelona SC shirt we just saw. This is considerably better than that, and I think, you know, less is more sometimes. I do broadly like that from New Balance. And then we come to the away and the home, and I think the home's kind of interesting. The away, similar kind of feelings to the third. Long time viewers will know I'm not the biggest fan of a one button collar, but this one, and again, simple thing, but the fact the pinstripes go on the back, that's important. There's no break there. You've got the similar jock tag, or the same jock tag I should say. So this one I would probably rank a little bit higher. It's another solid shirt from New Balance. I think it's got again, the crest on a shirt like this. The crest is doing a lot of work here as well, and I believe they rebranded fairly recently. I might be wrong on that, but I kind of like it. I do kind of like it. I almost like it enough to put it in our second tier, in the Flames tier, but we'll keep it in the higher end of the counter. It's one I'd take over the third, and I do think there's something about it. Of course, we should be keeping an eye on New Balance as well. We'll leave them there for now because we come to the home. Now let's get a proper look at this one. The kind of camo pattern has been overdone, or I shouldn't say overdone. I don't think it's quite been exhausted, but it's not. It's a bit cliche, I should say. However, you know, I like the way that the camo goes on the back. Sure, the black portion of the camo is restricted to the bottom of the kit, but overall, I do think this is pretty good. I like it, and I would be tempted. Oh, we don't want the back there, do we? We want the front. I'll be tempted to stick this one. If we just go here, stick this one just outside the Flames tier, right on the border. I think it's definitely got something about it, and I think as a whole, we'll leave New Balance there because of course the three kits for Brisbane Roar, not a bad day at the office for them and for New Balance. What about Hertha Berlin's special edition shirt? Now I assume this is going to be worn on pitch. Schwarzer Beton black concrete shirt. So immediately the name set is sticking out. Of course, you may remember the Hummel Brøndby away shirt from last year that had a similar graffiti or kind of tattoo aesthetic. This one, I mean, I think it's a bit too safe in terms of the pattern. The graffiti style doesn't do too much for me. This looks like quite an old template. That is what it is. Nothing too wrong with that. But it's like, you know, the details kind of fun on the back. The numbers obviously have some character, but it's not doing too much for me. I think the brief, obviously doing a special edition shirt. Special edition shirts should basically allow you to open the playbook. This one, to me, looks too much like they've tried to play it safe, almost like they're having to conform with regulations. For a better example of this, I don't know if we've ranked it yet actually. The New York Red Bulls did a shirt inspired, by the rap scene of New York. Now I don't know if it's on here actually. Maybe it is, and I've just misplaced it. Again, I'd have to kind of find it, but that shirt was basically doing what this was doing, but a lot better. And I think, honestly, it's somewhere in this region for me. Ian with a question: are those graffiti style numbers allowed in any competition? So I believe they would be allowed, or some leagues do allow pretty unusual typefaces. It's becoming less of a thing, and a lot of leagues are going to standardized typefaces and are moving towards away from allowing custom name certs, certainly to this kind of extent. But I want to say they are allowed in the. Unless I'm completely forgetting, I believe the Bundesliga still has club-specific fonts. I think I'm right in saying that, but now I'm doubting myself. I think they do. I'd have to double check. But again, a lot of leagues are clamping down, if you like, on that. What about Peñarol? I'm not sure how you say their name. Speaking of black, this one I'm guessing is inspired by a goalkeeper. Yep, it's certainly got the look of that. Yeah, obviously, well, you have to assume that this is a close tribute to a shirt their goalkeeper wore, Ladislav Mazukovic. Sure. Danny saying Hertha Graffiti looks like what you'd see on a Mackenzie shirt from JD Sports. It does. That's a good way to put it. Bundesliga 2000 now. I know you're moving. Indeed. I forgot that they'd got relegated. Yeah, this Peñarol shirt, it's fine. But the best thing, and the detail, a nice little Jokte detail, a good tribute in the form of quite a tasteful detail there on the shirt, which is perhaps the best thing about the shirt. But yeah, when it comes to the actual design, it's fairly forgettable. And of course, I think sometimes a shirt like a Peñarol shirt, they're kind of the victims of their own success. Their usual shirts are so good with the yellow and black stripes, their home kits, or sometimes even their away shirts do that. That often the other shirts you see from there just lack a little bit of excitement, and it's certainly not one I'd like be particularly wishing to collect. I get the number. There's obviously, it's got the old style kind of faux stitch look, but it's don't know, not much there for me. What about Real Zaragoza? Now these guys have kind of been stuck in a rut with Adidas, at least in terms of their some of the templates they've received. Nothing wrong with templates, but I do think some teams just rock them a lot better than others, basically. Not sure about the kind of red on red or the two-tone there. Fun little detail, I don't mind that, but it is a plain back. You can see it's supposedly this is the old kit or a retro version of the old shirt that they're in some ways paying tribute to. It's supposed to be a checkerboard pattern. Just do a checkerboard pattern then. Honestly, they could have done so much more here. This to me, and I get this. Yeah, this is honestly like the checkerboard. You think of all the Croatia shirts over the years. As a style, as a motif, as an approach, checkerboard kits I think are incredibly that they have so much potential, and I think generally speaking they are underutilized, underappreciated. This is just basically a boring attempt at checkerboard. The two-tone kit's kind of good, but too safe. Not feeling this one at all. I would almost want to put this in the bottom tier. Another stinker for tonight. Yeah, just looking at this again, I think I might just keep it in our third tier and our counter tier, but not by much. Work to do for Adidas and Zaragoza there. Speaking of Adidas and Zaragoza, we should of course be keeping an eye on our Bandwatch. For a brand like Adidas, of course, they have so many kits that this average is going to be moving around a bit less than some of the other brands. I realised as well we had a Puma shirt, didn't we? Of course, at Pennyroyal. So we will knock them down. A couple of pips, a couple of spots. Let's come to Forest Green Rovers and Umbro. Now, Umbro as a brand are kind of experiencing a bit of a revival. They've done a lot of good stuff, and particularly, they've been noticed for a lot of their work with the English lower league clubs. They're kind of, well, I would say they're really vaulting themselves up in that competitive tier that we talked about before. And this season, I think you could easily make a case for them being the best in terms of just pure design. Certainly kind of combining retro aesthetics with some just really strong kits. I think it wouldn't be a big stretch to say they are certainly, if not the best in that second tier, we'll call it, one of the most improved, or they've put themselves back on the map. Now, Ian said, are Forest Green kits all the same as last year's? That's an interesting question. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know, but given their sustainability angle, it wouldn't be a surprise if they did carry some stuff over, or so obviously if that's just a joke, then I've completely that's gone over my head, but I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if some of their kits came over. I don't remember seeing this particular one. Now, the sponsor here is certainly a standout. I don't know who Sea Shepherd are. Looks like a kind of like an alcohol brand or something. I think, given the nature of the third kit, could have gone a bit more wild. The kind of what looks like a bit like a kind of C, kind of geometric C aesthetic. It's not quite doing enough. I think because the sponsor is so crazy, and obviously your eyes go there immediately. You could argue that the slightly more kind of toned down, flatter pattern kind of allows the sponsor to take center stage, but really I think we could have seen a bit more intricacy, particularly in like the calves, and it feels like a fun idea, not quite fully realised. That's what I'll say. Now, I do think Umbro are doing good work. I do think Umbro deserve to be mentioned as one of, if not the best manufacturers in 2023. This is exactly what you want to see. The output they've had is exactly what you want to see. Lots of eye-catching kits, and not just kits which are, they haven't just gone down one route. They've gone down different routes for different clubs. Ian says, I think they may have added blue to the third kit. Sponsor, I think, is an eco-sponsor involved in cleaning up the sea. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense indeed. So I like this one, and I do think this is kind of high candle tier. Kind of mid to high. Definitely potential, and definitely the kind of thing where I wouldn't be surprised if if this was these kind of kits. I think given the sponsor, honestly, I just think that logo is quite a standout look. I can see this being popular. Right, we continue, guys. We continue. Now, am I right to say we ranked Roma's shirt last week? We did, didn't we? Now, where did we rank it? Because I honestly forget. There we go. It was in the Flames thing. Yeah, of course we did. That's how we started last week. So we're actually okay. We're looking like we might catch up. That's good. Let's come to Rangers and Castore, a brand very much in the spotlight. So many articles, and I had a couple of friends even mention that they were that Castore was on the news, and I've got one particular friend who, often if they see a football shirt story, they'll pass it on. That is in the mainstream media, so that's always notable when a story gets that much coverage. This fourth kit for Rangers, I have to say it, and I'm sorry for it being a broken record, but I am not a fan of one button collars, and brands keep doing them. It's just a personal pet peeve. It shouldn't really bother me, but it's just I just don't like it. I don't like it to wear, or I don't like the look of it. I'd rather have either you go for a proper collar with multiple buttons, or just no collar. But anyway, that's I'll get off my soapbox. Interesting pattern. I'm appreciating the fact it's not a plain back. Not entirely sure I really am feeling this one as much. One thing I will say, the kind of little specks here, it adds a bit of texture to the kit. It's certainly, you know, I kind of like that in a way, and the kind of grainy aesthetic which you often get for these types of kits, which of course was very popular if we go back to or think of some of the popular kits of particularly the late 80s and the early 90s. Often these kind of geometric type designs were quite grainy, or they had very grainy gradients. It's something I talk about a lot. Generally speaking, I think that aesthetic is quite nice. So with this Rangers kit, despite my kind of comments, I'm almost tempted to put it in the Flames tier. I don't think I will, and I think it deserves something around this this kind of spot. Particularly with the well, you know, I'm going to go a little bit lower because the collar, the collar's bothered me too much. And that is Castore. Now, Castore as a brand, up until this point on the wall, haven't been too hot, but we've all bumped them up, and they could certainly, you know, with a few strong kits during the year, they might find themselves a bit further up on the leaderboard. Let's come to Al Sadd now. This is a team from Qatar. Back with New Balance again. A very, I think, similar kind of situation to what we talked about on eBay with the final gold, the Bristol City shirt. Gold can look quite good, but also sometimes it just simply doesn't add a lot, and I don't think the combination is really doing too much for me. This kind of pale minty green with the equally pale gold, a little bit just lackluster. I don't mind the pattern too much. The kind of barcode pattern, honestly, not bad. Although the back is plain, but the shirt is fine. But I do think the color isn't working for me. It's not an attractive combo. It's the kind of color combo which I think we don't see a lot for a reason, basically. Now, it is a third kit, and I think in that sense, third kits are good opportunities to try and go a bit outside the box. But we'll keep this one at the lower end of the counter. I think that's kind of where I'm landed on this one. And as I look, and every time I'm ranking these shirts, I'm obviously looking at what I ranked before and kind of thinking, okay, you know, it's like would you rather take this or the Lincoln shirt? Okay, maybe it's around that kind of level. You know, there's that West Brom there. Yeah, that feels about right. So I think something around here actually feels good. Of course, that being a New Balance kit, we will then jump back to them, and we'll knock them down a little bit on the list, but nothing too much. Good stuff. Now, staying with New Balance, and there's been a few New Balance kits there, so that's been cool to kind of talk about them. This Lille 4th kit, I think this one is close to being really, really nice, but it is let down now by a couple of things. Now, you can already tell what I'm going to say. The plain back hurts so much. This aesthetic, I think, is resonating with me. It's got enough busyness in terms of this. I don't know what the statue is here, but I like this kind of style. We've got it multiple times layered. There's a little bit of kind of glitchy look to it, and I think the color scheme is really nice here. You've got that lovely rich, quite deep blue. It's almost purple. It's a very nice shade of blue, and I like this combo. It's an unusual combo of the kind of almost peachy red with the turquoise. I think the palette is very strong, but Again, it hurts to see the playback, and we have to talk about that because that just immediately is a downgrade. And it's a shame because I think there's a lot to like. I like the asymmetry of the peach. We'll call it peach. It's kind of reddy peach, but we'll call it peach, or pink, I guess. I like that, and I don't mind that at all, having it just on one sleeve. I think this shirt, you know, it's got the arty look, and I actually think they've really done a good job. To me, I wanna actually have this in the conversation of a high flames tier, but I can't really do it. Well, you know what? I like it enough that I will consider it, probably for this kind of range. I do think I'm not seeing. I don't remember, of course, seeing anyone talk about this shirt. I think it's really strong. I think it taps into, I think, what a lot of good fourth shirts do. At the end of the day, a fourth shirt is completely, again, even more so than a third shirt, a chance to do something different. I think the visuals here are strong. It would be interesting to see coloured or detailed sleeves, or the pass on the sleeves. That could actually maybe elevate it. But I'm generally, you know, the more I've looked at this, I'm really coming around to it, and I don't think I can get any lower than a middle counter, and that's despite the plain back and a couple other things. So I like it here. I mean, there's some good spots here. Let's go right there. Yeah, I like it. I really think Leo did a good job there. And I think it's the colour scheme that really solidifies it here. I think the combination, like, it's one thing to have, if you were to list the colours, blue, and again we'll call it peach, and turquoise, it's hard to kind of picture how that would work. But I think because that shade of blue really, I think at the base, that is, the shade of blue on the base just sits, I think really well with those two colours. So that's a really nice kind of surprise there, and I'm liking that one a lot. What about Coventry City now? We all know this kit, this design in green and black now for Coventry. I kind of like it as a combo. Obviously, we don't have to spend too much time talking about the shirt. I will say that as much as I'm a big Hummel fanboy, and I work a bit with Hummel as well at the moment, so I'm biased, but I would have preferred to see them lean more into some of the small, but I think important details which differentiate this shirt from other shirts with the Denmark 86 template. So if you look at the Southampton shirt, there's a really cool detail in the pinstripes with the roses of the county Hampshire that Southampton are in, and some other little details. And I think little things like that would have really helped across this repeated use of the template. I don't mind that, and obviously a lot of people say it's just lazy. I get that, but I do think for the 100th anniversary of Hummel, it's been, I think, quite a fun story to follow, and I actually kind of like the idea, but I would have liked to see a bit more, just in terms of little things, which would separate it from the other Denmark 86 kits, or the majority of the Denmark 86 kits. Although, as a positive, to end on a positive note, Hummel gave clubs the onus to basically say, or choose, do you want the Denmark 86 tribute as a home, away, or third? And I really like that. It's led to some interesting, variation there. But I do like it, and I actually think the green and black is an unusual combo. I like the colour combo, and I do like it. And the thing is, despite all the things I've said, I actually think, honestly, I like it in that kind of slot. Personally, it's a kit I would look to add, and obviously the template has its, it's been used so much this season that there is a bit of fatigue in the sense. But I like it, and if we come to Hummel, it's funny, look at that again. I promise I'm not doing this on purpose, but that is almost bang in the middle. You love to see it. What was the shit we just went to? Oh, we had New Balance. I forgot to adjust New Balance. Let's stick them there. Well, let's maybe just do that. Again, this is hardly scientific here as we move these names around. I like it a lot. I do like that a lot from New Balance, and indeed for Coventry there and Hummel. we're closing in on the final straight, and we're going to be potentially a bit early, so we'll finish with a bit of Q&A, and I might see how we get on there. Sassuolo, now not really enjoying this third shirt too much. Color combo, the luminous shade is fine, but with the green, not really feeling it. It has the plain back. I think this one. I think, am I right? I believe this is just a catalog pattern as well, not bespoke to the team. Underwhelming from Puma and Sassuolo. Of course, like we talked about Penarol before, some clubs, almost because of their typically quite strong colour scheme in their home kits, suffer when it comes to alternate kits, because Sassuolo home shirts look great with the green and black stripes. Typically it kind of makes it basically a bit harder for their away or third shirts, I would say, to stand out in any given collection. I don't like this one though. I think honestly we're going to stick it in the ice teams, but a few duds tonight, it's fair to say, and that is one of them. Of course, we will then also consider Puma's ranking overall, a couple of steps down for them. And then we're not going to make the equality jersey that Hummel did for their clubs, simply because it wasn't worn. It was a pre-match shirt, not worn on pitch. I will briefly comment and say it is, of course, a lot to take in. I would be interested to have seen them lean on either side of this front as a broad direction. So by that I mean it looks almost like two designs stitched together, or two kind of directions that have been combined. It's honestly it's not one I think works particularly well, but in terms of creating maximum impact and creating a story, which they're wanting to tell, I think they've done that, and they've achieved that very well. But yeah, not one I think is even that strong compared to some of their other shirts that they've done in that genre, I think, which have been a little bit more interesting. Sydney FC and Under Armour. Now, Under Armour have quietly been doing some good work in Australia, and I like this one broadly speaking, but I think the cut of it, to me, not feeling as much. And it's the kind of shirt which would really benefit from some embossing. That just screams to me, having that as a jacquard or embossed, which would really elevate it. I do like the overall look of it, despite the plain back. When you do see these shots, it looks a little bit on the cheap end. I feel like Under Armour were in a slightly better place last year. Maybe I'm misremembering. In my mind, their shirts were slightly higher on the quality end of things, but this one has a look of a Callantyre shirt for me. I do like the idea here, and again, I think it's a bit greedy of me, but I would like to see this as some sort of embossed pattern, as some sort of pattern which would really, I think, take it to the next level. It's a lot to ask, and ultimately I do think this is still solid. We'll go here, and this is of course Under Armour, so we will for the first time in a while, we're not having many Under Armour shirts, and the ones we've had have not done well, but because of that Sydney shirt, we can move Under Armour back up a bit more. And we have the away shirt, which looks to be the same as the home. So it looks fun. I would rank it slightly lower than the home, but not by much. Nothing wrong about a home and away shirt that has a kind of shared design. Sometimes that can even be a good thing. So sometimes that can be a good thing if the design is pretty good, of course. Let's make sure we get. There we go. But yeah, this one kind of mid-canal. mid candle tier, our third tier. What is probably going to be the busiest tier when all is said and done. But what's cool is, I think again we can sort of say, I don't know, come up a bit more. Reasonable output there for Cinia C. And we finish with, again, I assume it's going to be more on pitch. Greuther Fürth. Fürth, I'm not sure. I forget how you pronounce the U there. People will know. Long time listeners, viewers will know my pronunciation. It's not my strong point, it's fair to say. Now, I'm going to get this straight out of the way and say this, to me, is pretty naff. I've kind of got a bit of a ongoing, a bit like with one Martin Collins, an ongoing frustration with some of these more kind of literal kind of designs which have old stadiums or pictures, kits, etc. Pictured in this sort of way, and this is, to me, very tacky, very kind of low end. You know, on one sense, Puma have kind of achieved this. You know, the way that's all restricted to the middle stripe. I don't mind the overall aesthetic. The collar of this one is actually good. We've actually got a good collar here. But I just, this is just, that looks terrible. It looks very like hastily done. I honestly, if you just took that away, I would like this shirt more. What's funny is it doesn't even look good from a distance. Sometimes these kind of designs, which have, you know, like stadiums or whatever, for example, they look quite good from a distance. But this, hey, that is not one I would I'll be looking out for. And I hate to end on a bad note. And this has been a particularly bad evening overall in terms of kits. I simply have to put this in the Ice Cube tier, guys. Yeah, anniversary kits, they're not easy to get right. A lot of people are releasing them at the moment, but this is, to me, just, well, I even saw someone, I think, on Football Shirt Culture here, so it's tacky. I think that's a fair word to use. I do think that kind of the details in there. I mean, what's the reason it's not at the bottom of this tier is because I do think, again, the kind of the execution of the idea is bad, but the overall kind of design, silhouette, whatever you want to call it, is okay with the collar. And I do actually think, in terms of the green stripe in the middle, that was something they could work with. But there we go. A disappointing effort from Puma, and we talked a lot about them tonight, along with some other brands. I'm just having some trouble here with my document. There we go. Let's go there. Let's move that there, and that'll do it. So today on the whole, actually a bit of a stinker in terms of some of these entries. We had a few now. In the Ice Cube tier, but not all bad, and somewhat redeeming things was the Lille fourth shirt, which I really do think was a winner, but also kind of fun to get a couple of gold kits. That's been a big theme of today, both through eBay and of course here on the Hot Wall. And there we go, guys. That is the latest update. We've caught up. There is a back catalogue we need to go through, and actually one thing which, again, I just simply need to do and sit down is to go through all the shirts that we've missed. Although, having said that, as we get later into the year, we'll still be doing this hopefully until December. And my thinking is that obviously now we're seeing fewer and fewer new kits. We might get to the point where we can just start backdating live on stream, as well as me just kind of sitting down and ploughing through everything that we have missed. I will make a note that we've started at Lons and worked down. Cool. I need to tidy up this whole section, but that note is more for just for quick reference than anything else. And there we go. Now I do want to say again, thank you. It's been a quiet stream. I think one thing which I will look into actually is the possibility of maybe a Thursday evening, potentially, if that works better for these kind of European nights. I will put that out, I think, probably on here and kind of gauge what people are thinking there. But equally, maybe it is just a case of, you know, the stream's starting again, and I think one thing I've noticed, and it makes sense in many ways, YouTube, I think, at least from my understanding, because the channel was quite inactive for a few months, it's just taken a while. In like for example, and I don't know if this is something which I could affect on my side, but I didn't get a notification I noticed on my phone. Maybe I'm just making excuses. Maybe I just need to work on my kind of tags and title, thumbnail, etc. But nonetheless, having said all that, sure, there's only been 2 or 3 of us for a lot of the stream, but I do want to say thank you to you guys for hanging out. Thank you to Ian, to Danny. Who else did we have? We had Georgie and Daredevil. So thank you guys. Thank you for, again, this is just like a quiet, chill stream, but it means so much to have even just a couple of people tuning in, watching, commenting. So appreciate it very much, and I hope you guys will stick around for future streams. Don't forget, guys, as we close, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. You'll get updates on what's happening with the stream, but also with Phil's Corner videos, and there's going to be lots of really good content coming out very soon for your enjoyment. There's also a Patreon, and with that Patreon you get a free shirt as part of your support, which I designed recently, and it's a crazy design. You might have even spotted it on the hot wall there as we were ranking it. There's that shirt, and there's other benefits too. We talked earlier today in the stream about sending shirts, receiving shirts and sending them to people in different countries, and we do have kind of regular proxy sending, collecting, receiving happening over on the channel. Indeed, if you live somewhere where you can't get shirts from the UK, I'm always happy to receive and send that stuff on to people, so there is that as well. But that's good stuff. I think we'll call it a night there, guys. But thank you again, and of course, if you're watching this on catch up, don't forget to leave a like as well. Or if you're watching live, don't forget to leave a like. And we'll be, broadly speaking, we'll be here pretty much every week. I'm going to look into maybe doing a different evening on these days, whether it's Champions League. You know, maybe it's a Monday, maybe it's a Thursday. There's a couple of options there which I might explore, or maybe we just keep with Tuesdays. I'll let you know. But thank you again. Good to hang out with you guys, and yeah, appreciate everyone's support. I'll speak to you guys on here very soon again, and if not, we will be over on Twitter or somewhere else, wherever else I am on the internet. But thank you everyone. I will leave us with the outro scene, and yeah, don't forget, check out the this week we've got the next Phil's Corner episode, the 10 most expensive shirts in my collection. Look forward to that, and until next time, guys, take care and all the best.